Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hello, everybody.
Hey,
My name is David Bell.
I'm Tom Ryman.
We just watched Searching. Sir.
Is there an ellipsis?
Sir, like...
Sir.
Sir.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm calling to report a missing person.
Okay, who is this regarding? My daughter.
I'm the detective assigned to your daughter's case. I need to know how everything unfolded.
Understood.
I think we're gonna go late, like, all night.
1. After a study session, Margot didn't return home.
Margot Kim, school has her marked as absent today.
2. She didn't attend school on Friday.
My daughter is in a lesson with you right now?
Margot canceled her classes 6 months ago.
And 3. She's been transferring funds for the last 6 months.
I thought it was really good.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna... without having a clear memory, I'm gonna say this might be my favorite movie this year.
It's pretty goddamn good, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the most effective mystery thrillers I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. I want to start by saying what you just said. This is a mystery thriller. So if you haven't seen it yet and you plan to, you really shouldn't listen to
I
this.
super recommend that you go see it.
Yeah.
So pause.
Yeah, because it's
Hit the pause button.
it's a good mystery thriller, and
Yeah.
you should see it.
You should
so
see it.
go
It's
see
really
it.
good, yeah.
And the critics agree. It's at like almost, I think it's like a 90 something on Rotten Tomatoes.
92% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think.
Yeah, I've seen people like reviews of it that are like, "That's bullshit. It should be 100." Like I've seen those reviews of people like, "That's not high enough."
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay,
there's,
so are we're stop and go see it.
yes,
all right.
spoilers from now on.
All right, now resume
Yeah.
spoiler discussion.
Because I do want to say there was one detail that I only realized after the movie that I was like, "Oh, that's so obvious."
What's that?
It doesn't give away the entire plot, but it was the fact that he's going on these computers and it's like Windows, Apple. He's on Facebook. He's over here on Twitter. He's on Instagram. And then when it gets to the streaming site, I was just like, huh. It seems like Twitch didn't want to be involved.
Not a
with
real
this.
site.
Not a real site. And it was like, oh right, because no site wants to be.
No
the
site
one
wants to
that-
be the site where she was abducted.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that. I realized was obvious. I suspected the detective at first, and then they threw
Really?
me off of it.
I never suspected her.
That's cool. It was at the very beginning when he was clicking on her profile and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I suspected her in a dumb way. I was like, "Oh no, is this going to be a movie where like we find out he's talking to her the whole time, and then we find out it's not her, or something like that?"
Oh,
and then
okay.
she comes to the house, and it's like clear she's a detective.
Right,
so
yeah.
I just forgot it.
Yeah.
But another fucking obvious thing was when her son,
Yeah.
when she talks about her son, and then when she's yelling at him, her son goes in the room. She says, "I'll handle it." She doesn't say. She says it like he knows what
He
she's
knows
doing.
what's going on. Yeah. I didn't catch that until. Yeah, the detective is played by Deborah Messing, which took
Yeah.
me until the end credits to realize. I was sitting there
Another
the entire
twist, yeah.
sitting there the entire film like I fucking know who this actress is.
Mm-hmm.
But she's very un-Deborah Messing like.
Yeah,
She really does inhabit the role of a police detective,
she does.
and it doesn't look anything at all like Will and Grace.
We
So-
we talked about this on because I forget if this was a Patreon exclusive. We saw Unfriended the Dark Web.
was that an exclusive? I can't remember.
I know it was like a kind of a bonus episode. I mean, I think
Maybe. Anyway.
maybe, and we also saw the original Unfriended.
Unfriended, yeah.
And we talked about how creative those were and how like the idea of doing a movie entirely from a computer screen opens up an opportunity to like
It's a really good idea.
yeah
Because it combines and this is why it's a good idea for me. It combines a lot of what makes reading a book such an effective storytelling device with what makes a film such as an effective storytelling device, and it
Right.
does it in like a very. It never feels like even in the shitty Unfriended sequel, it never felt like the gimmick itself never felt forced.
Right, because here's the thing about the gimmick is that if you do it, it forces you to write better.
Yep. And you said that in the episode.
Yeah, and that's what it forces you to write better, and it forces the actors to perform.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing there is. Because if you do it this way, all you have is that. All you have is people typing and people staring directly at a camera saying things and feeling, like
Yeah.
And it's and like we said with the Unfriended, it's like those were those are almost like as bad as that the version can get of
Yeah.
that. Like Dark Web is a dumb movie, but it
Yes.
still has parts of there where you're like, oh, that's cool exposition. Oh, that's a cool way of doing that. Mm-hmm. And this is like taking that format and giving it to a filmmaker who really fucking knows what they're doing.
Yeah. John Cho is the lead. His
He's great.
daughter goes missing, and it becomes clear after a certain point that she's been abducted or
Right.
murdered.
Or ran away.
Or ran away. He's very good in this.
Yes, he is.
And I think that's
He had to be.
you have to be, yeah, like you were saying, and that's a big deal of like taking this format and like, okay, well, let's take this format that's clever and forces us to be clever in a new way and put like real money and like movie stars in it and shit.
Right, because it's all about the goddamn acting, and
Yeah.
like I'm really happy this happened because I feel like found footage was a format that they could have done this with, and they didn't. Like I don't remember found footage, and I think the reason why is because they want it to look authentic, so they never get big name actors. So the whole found footage is like designed to be cheap, every part of it down to the casting, Mm-hmm. But it would have been nice to see like talented filmmakers try a found footage, and I can't think of one right now. Oh, I guess he did the new Blair Witch.
Oh yeah.
Garland, is that no? That's
Adam Wingard.
Adam Wingard, who I think is a really good director, and I mean most people didn't like Blair Witch.
Yeah.
But watching it, I do remember thinking, "Oh, this is a good director doing
Doing
found footage."
yeah.
Because it was well done.
Shyamalan, The Visit.
Oh yeah, that's another good example where it's like he knows how to make a movie, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
applying, so this is the same feeling of just like it's really cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And man, this is just this movie is so fucking good. Like,
Yeah.
The story is there are like 3 or 4 legit huge twists that
Yeah.
you do not expect.
And they're smart.
And they're smart, yeah, and they're well executed,
Yeah.
and they don't come out of nowhere. They're the kind of twists that are like, oh shit, I should have seen that earlier, or like, and there's oh man, like
the brother.
the brother like there's a lot of red herrings,
Yeah.
but like they come off as like these like
That was
these
great.
huge, like the brother shit was fucking awesome.
I thought that was the end. I thought that was the end of the movie.
Yeah.
There's a part where he what is it? He's looking at the crime photos. This is like one of the twists where they find her car in the lake.
Yeah, they find her car in the lake.
And that he finds in the crime photos she has a
He has to go to Reddit,
sweater.
which is great. Like as he goes on to Reddit, I was like, oh no, man. Don't
Oh
go
yeah.
there.
I'm glad they didn't spend too much time on Reddit.
Yeah.
I'm glad Reddit didn't solve the mystery.
No, hell no. That would have been very irresponsible.
I did like that they did that.
Yeah.
And he finds the brothers, or something that looks like the brother's sweater in the car.
Right. He's scrolling through the crime scene photos of the car, and he notices a sweatshirt on the front driver's side floor that is a hockey team that his brother loves.
And then he finds texts on his
Yeah, he
daughter's
just
computer
goes,
from his brother that are like, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing this. It feels so weird that we're doing this. Can I come over tonight? Can I come over tonight? Can I come over?" Like repeatedly. And so it's that moment where you're like, "Oh fuck,
Yeah.
she's an uncle fucker."
Yeah.
And then he puts up video cameras to get the confession.
Yeah.
And I thought at that point, like that's a little cheesy for the climax, but not. It was really good when I realized it wasn't the climax,
Right.
And why and how And
you needed it.
You did need it.
They utilize it in such a good way because you can
really do.
You're seeing he sets up 3 hidden cameras in his brother's house, and then he's like, I got to go out to my car, and you see him set up the recording software on the computer in his car. So it's still watching his computer screen in his car.
Right.
So it'll pan over from like the 3 different camera screens he has up over to his messages, and we see that he keeps getting called by the detective. And like keeps getting messages from the detective that he's ignoring because he thinks he's about to fucking Poirot the shit.
Right. And then he chokes out his brother.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. Which even that's like sort of
Strangles his brother.
Oh man, there's so many arcs because there's the arc of that where when he thinks it's some stupid kid, with a brilliantly played idiot kid.
Yeah.
He fucking breaks the kid's jaw, and then he chokes out his brother. And then when he finds out who it actually is, there's that part where he's just standing and looking at it. It's a full arc of him just like breathe.
Yeah, that shot.
So good,
fucking amazing.
So good.
It's such an emotional shot. There's no dialogue, but it's like it's just he's live streaming his daughter's memorial service, and we see that the detective is there, and at this point we know that the detective has had something to do with the disappearance. Like she lied about contacting a person and lied about something else. And so you see everybody sitting down, and then you see him as it's so good.
Yeah.
But like you see him slowly walk into frame, and then people start to stand up, and he's like, no, sit down. And he kind of looks like he's just come back from space. Like he's so checked out, and he's so like fucking ragged. And he just walks to the pew where she is, and then just turns and stares at her. And it takes a long people start to get up and leave the pew, and then you see her like feel that he's looking at her, and she like turns and looks at him. And when that happens, the back door of the church opens, and 4 policemen come in and flank him and move. I'm getting goosebumps now talking about it.
It's very good.
It's so fucking good. God.
She slowly gets up and walks towards it.
And didn't watch the movie before listening to this episode, fucking stop and go watch the movie right now.
Yeah, seriously. Going back to the brother, because this is great writing, is that they and so he's choking out his brother, and he's like, what did you do? What did you do? And he screams, weed! And it's been established beforehand, which it was one of those details where I was like, I can't tell what this is about, where that his brother is smoking a lot of weed, and
you don't. It's not.
It seems very casual.
Yeah, it's not. The clues that they give you are never done in a Chekhov's gun sort of way.
Exactly.
It's always
because there's so much.
Right, and it felt like that bit was just like, okay, they're just informing the character of the brother, so we know what kind of guy he is.
Yeah, exactly.
He just has a huge jar of weed on his.
And then when you think he's a killer, you're like, oh, that weed smoking bastard.
Yeah.
But then, he's selling her weed or giving her weed.
Yeah.
And then that becomes a fucking character moment, because then he's like, oh, well, how could you do that? And he's like kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And then his brother is like, I talked to her all the time too.
Yeah.
We got high and chalked, which is something you never do.
Yeah.
And then suddenly this security camera thing, you're just watching an emotional performance at that moment. And it's like, oh, I'm really glad they have these fucking spy cameras up.
Yeah, that's why they had it.
Yeah.
Because they had to have 2 characters have like a scene.
Yeah, have an actual
So
scene.
like...
And then that's when he gets the call that his daughter's likely dead, that a person,
guy confessed.
And so we have that emotional sequence too. Like it's such a well-crafted moment.
You see him take the call and walk around and he gets to the back door and then just collapses. And starts just like high pitched, like screaming.
Oh God.
There's like 5 times in this movie where I had like tears welling up.
Yeah.
Well, this is such a fucking good movie.
We haven't even talked about the fact that the movie opens like the beginning of Up.
It's up.
It's up on a computer screen. It's a family. It's a montage of their family computer. And it was such a good way to make you instantly care about the characters, because it's him. It's pretty much, because it's like him and his wife, and they have their daughter is like 1 year older in kindergarten, and he's typing in stuff about schools, and then he types in something about lymphoma, And then
you see an email that his wife gets.
that his wife gets from the doctor,
Yeah.
and then it's him like running with his wife and
fighting
like
cancer
fighting
as a
cancer,
family, and then
and then she makes it, and then it's
It
a relapse,
relapse.
and then they show them running again, and she can't keep up, and it's like, oh fuck you, you're doing
Yeah.
up, you motherfuckers.
fucking movie.
And the mother, of course, she dies, and they do that really well.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the moment I was like, oh shit, this is probably going to be good. Is when they have the calendar and it says mom will be
Mom's
back
coming
from the
home.
hospital. Mom's coming home, and
then-
they keep pushing the date.
Yeah, she moves it, and then
Yeah.
she finally deletes it, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh Jesus! And they show this scene where she's like in the hospital, and the little girl Margot, has taken the little play piano and is playing a song for her. That is the theme of the film, or one of the themes of the film.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's the song she plays for her mom on the toy piano. They repeatedly use in the
Oh,
score.
that's great.
Yeah. She's playing that song for her mom in the hospital
Yeah.
bed, and I was like, "Fuck you, movie!"
Yeah, because this movie is fucking touching
so
because
good.
they really like.
They
Because the subplot is this guy's a widower, and that's the fucking, oh god, I forgot about it. The arc is that it's a text exchange between him and her at the beginning and one at the end. And at the beginning he's typing to her and says like, hey, I'm so proud of you about this test, and then he types, your mother would be proud too, looks at it and deletes it.
Yeah.
And then the whole arc is the fact that he doesn't talk to her about
the mom, yeah.
and they show that a few times, and then at the very end they're having another text about her achievements,
But it's from
and
her
from
end this time.
her end,
Yeah.
and it ends with him saying your mother would be proud of you,
Yeah.
and actually texting it. It definitely has that. It's almost Gone Girl where the perspective like starts. No, I guess it's mostly at the end.
It flips a little in the beginning because you'll see it does a gimmick during the beginning where it's the prologue showing us the family and getting all the backstory.
Right.
They have the three different accounts,
Right,
So
and
you
they're
know whose
clicking.
point of view you're in because they'll click on like David or
Right.
Pam or Margot, and
It
so then you know
also-
whose point of view you're in.
The part where he's watching her stream and he sees himself interact with her from her
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it's about. It's about like the trailer and the thriller is like, I don't really know my daughter, and you think it's going to be more sinister than that, which they
And
lead you to
there's
believe.
possibilities that it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it turns out that it's like it's true. He didn't quite know how she was feeling,
Right.
But it wasn't sinister.
No, it
she was giving money because she thought somebody's mom was dying
somebody
of
else.
cancer.
Yeah, somebody else's mom was in the hospital with cancer, so
Yeah.
she was keeping the money he was giving her for piano lessons that she stopped taking.
Right.
And then Venmoed it to this guy. That's like that's my favorite subplot of the film is watching John Cho as dad
Yes,
figuring
dad
out
his
all
way
this
through the internet.
dadding his way through all this shit. Like he has no fucking idea what anything is.
It was really good because he's not that old, so like he knows Facebook and texting.
Yeah, he knows some stuff.
But like when he gets to the streaming services, it's
He
just
doesn't know
like,
what the fuck it is.
yeah, he has no idea, and he just accidentally streams himself like sitting there frowning and like looking at.
Somebody logs in. It's like so and so is logged in. So and so is logged out. It's just him frowning intensely at the
Right,
screen.
and then Tumblr as well.
Yeah, he doesn't know what Tumblr is.
Yeah.
and his brother mentioned. Now, that's a couple of clues to it too. Like I think his brother mentions Venmo, doesn't he?
He might have, yeah.
His brother also tries to downplay it initially. He's like, "Well, she might have taken off. Remember when I took off to go see?"
Oh,
the
right.
So they do lay seeds so that when he finds the brother thing, you're thinking back and you're like, "Oh fuck, it is
Yeah.
the brother."
Shit.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out what like Venmo is, and like he just no clue.
Yeah. It's pretty great.
Yeah,
Shit. I lost my train of thought about this. There's just so much.
well, you were talking about the subplot and how it's like the subplot of the film is about grief
Right.
driving a family apart. Like, 'cause
Right.
It just sits there and festers, and we see a lot of it on his end. They keep reinforcing that he does not want to deal with it.
Yes.
Like when his brother calls him and asks for a gumbo recipe, and he searches for it, and it comes up. It's one of his wife's recipes, and then there's also a video of his wife making it with Margot, and he sets it so it hides it during the search.
Yeah.
And then like he has to sign into his wife's computer
Right. Oh, that was the thing I was thinking of that I thought was really cool also, is the way he has to hack into his daughter's computer. They did it very well, because that could be a sweaty thing. And so he goes on her computer, and it's like the Facebook, it's like, you need a password.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we'll send a reminder to your Gmail, and he goes to her Gmail, and he doesn't know her password. And we'll send a reminder to your Yahoo. And it's like, they did good at that, because Yahoo's the first account you get, and then you get Gmail, and then you get...
It's his wife's
and it's
account,
his wife, because she was probably very young when she was first getting it, and that's how he's able to crack the whole thing. And I thought that was
and
really
we see
good.
that and he knows his wife's Yahoo password
Yeah.
because it's Margot and then her birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you see him type it in. There's a couple of moments where he just doesn't look at things that have to do with his wife. Like he kind of you see him sort of hide them or delete them.
Yeah. And then oh god. And this is how I knew she would be. And I mean, you again watch the movie. This is how I knew she'd had to be alive. Is that very end where he's looking at the video of her drawing the picture that says like I'm best dad ever, and he fucking deletes it, which is him going down the hole again of not wanting to remember already.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, okay, this movie can't end this way.
No,
a producer wouldn't allow it to happen. And that's the fucking another thing that you don't think about is that when they find the car, they do this big search, and then what feels like it's like almost, it's not even the third act, but what it feels like it's like, okay, and things can't get any worse. There's a huge storm, and they can't search for her. And I thought, like, oh, that's a good way to get them back on the computer and stuff.
Yeah,
it served a lot of like narrative purposes. And then at the end, it's revealed that she's pushed in a ravine. Yeah. And the mom is saying even if she survived the fall, she would have had to gone 5 days without water.
The detective said that.
Without water, and he's like, no, it's only 2 days, and it's because of that fucking rainstorm.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Every little bit kind of like served a purpose.
Yeah, like when the detective tells him that story about her son going door to door and lying about a charity and collecting the money.
Right.
It tells us two things.
Yes, it does.
It tells us, one, that her kid lies and takes money from people.
Yeah, is a scam artist. And two, he asks, what did you do about it? And she says, oh, well, I told them that I recently did start that charity and I thanked them for the money. It tells us that she covers up for her son. Yeah. She doesn't hold him accountable for anything. And then we learn what has happened is that her son was stalking Margot on the Ucast, which is their invented streaming service, pretending to be some woman in Pittsburgh, and then lies about I'm working myself to death for because my mom's in the hospital with cancer, and so that's like Margot Venmos the money to his account, right? Which looks really suspicious at first because it's like, why is she not going to piano recital, and why is she saving this money, and why did she Venmo so much of it? What is she up to? Well, and it's actually like, oh, it's the most wholesome fucking answer ever.
It's like the nicest thing ever, but it's like initially you think is the account that she Venmoed it to is deleted, and the detective tells him the account belonged to her, and she's fucking lying to him.
Yeah.
Like you take so much of what. Oh,
there's an unreliable narrator.
You just accept what she says. Like in the search thing where she's like, here's the search area. We've already searched these two areas.
Oh, yeah.
She marked out the fucking place where Margot is.
Yeah.
And she just did it, but you don't think about it because you're just like, oh, well, she's the detective in charge. Of course they've already searched those areas.
She feels like the Rock. Like she's like this the center of everything, that it's the only person he can go to.
Yeah,
and
she's the calm one, and he's going to pieces.
And she's feeding him. What was smart about it is that she couldn't lie because there's many cops on it.
Yeah.
But she can feed him just enough information that he doesn't go down these paths. Like, she tells him that they looked into the waitress on Ucast or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And it's he doesn't tell anybody. He doesn't tell cops or anything because why would he? And then when he personally does it himself, he realizes that,
it's a stock photo model.
Yeah, the stock photo thing was great because that also was one of those things where I looked at the picture and I was like, oh, the filmmaker's got a stock photo for this.
Yeah.
But then you think, and then they make it suspicious at first, and then you sort of think of it as another red herring, and you're just like, okay.
Right, because again, the detective's like, yeah, we called her and verified that she was on.
Which is what made this a great mystery, because they give you everything. They give you the pieces.
Yeah.
It's not one of those fucking mysteries where they're like, and it was this guy all along. And you're like, well, I could have never known that.
No way I would have ever figured that out. Like Scream 2,
Yeah.
when Timothy Olyphant turns out to be the killer. You're like, sure.
Sure, yeah. It could literally be
Spoilers
anybody.
for Scream 2.
Yeah, sorry, everybody. And that's what they do. They do the red herring where it's a criminal confesses on tape and is found having shot himself. And then the reveal is one of the first pictures he looks at when he's looking at the detective stuff.
Yeah.
Is that she's doing a Habitat for Humanity type thing with ex-cons, and one of them is that guy.
Is that fucking guy. So it's like we literally, one of the first things we see is this guy's face.
We see, the people responsible.
Yeah.
The first thing we see is basically the person who did it.
Essentially.
Yeah. That was, I guess that was, because that exposition of him looking her up, it also made me think, like, something about it. I mean, it was that, I think as the movie progressed, he would do that a lot, so you don't think about it as much, but it threw me off because I thought, like, oh, maybe it's like someone else looking at her profile and pretending to be her, because she says, like, I'm a mother, and her profile picture's her with her son, so I thought, like, oh, anybody can tell she's a mother, and like, I went down that path, and then the movie goes fucking all over the place, so so it really throws you off.
Yeah.
It's a real good mystery.
Yeah. It's just a solid mystery.
Yeah. It really is, because it all makes sense in the end.
Yeah, none of it feels...
But there's a lot... none of
There's one convenient thing.
What's that?
And then it's the stock photo model. It's the fact that the
coincidence.
There's one, like, coincidence, and that's the stock photo model for the memorial service is the same lady that the guy was using in the streaming thing. Yeah,
that memorial service was a good idea. Oh, we haven't even talked about that. Is that another detail I really liked about this? Was it really showcases the more morbid curiosity of the internet?
Yes,
and because what happens that we haven't even talked about is that she becomes viral. She goes viral.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It starts with him learning that she doesn't really have friends.
Yeah.
And you think at first, like, oh, that's suspicious. It must be something to that. And then you find out that's why she streams and stuff like that. She's like reaching out to people. And he goes through all her friends and like realizes that they're not her friends and none of them really care about her and like know her. And then when she goes missing, they cut to all the same people on YouTube.
Yeah, on
like
YouTube
crying.
and Facebook. Like, yeah, it's so good.
Oh, it's perfect.
She's my best friend and I'll miss her. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And they did all the hashtag stuff. They did people, whenever he'd casually go to his email, you'd see hate mail. You'd see like threats and stuff.
But they never focused on it.
But they never focused
you just
on
see
it.
it there.
Yeah.
Like he's got like thousands of messages and they're all like accusing him of murdering his daughter.
Yeah, it's perfect. And there's people making memes of him.
Yeah,
and like,
the meme. Father of the Year.
Yeah.
It's like a terrible screenshot of him.
Yeah. And it touched on that so good.
Yeah.
And again, he goes to Reddit and there's like a subreddit about people trying to solve the mystery, and it's like, oh, you know Reddit so well.
Yeah.
Like
well, there's also a subreddit like about why he's the murderer.
Yeah.
Like
that was the person who made this, and you kind of have to, but the person who made this like really knew how the internet worked.
Yeah.
And that sounds basic, but going back to Unfriended Dark Web, where it's just like, yeah, that's not how hacking works.
Nope.
And it's that really. Like, when you do a movie that takes place entirely on a computer screen, you have to make sure that it, like, looks like it's not made by, like, an old person.
Right. It has to be genuine. It's like, it can't be like a baby boomer's idea of the internet. And part of why it's so genius to have a baby boomer be the main character. Although John Cho's not old enough to be a baby boomer. But
the idea that he didn't quite understand.
Yeah, he's like dadding his
good.
way through some of this stuff. Like he knows the basics, like YouTube, Google, and Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram, but he doesn't know like some of the.
He doesn't know that like what happens when something goes viral like that. You know, like And so it was great that like, yeah, it was a good character for that because he's kind of like lost in this unfamiliar territory, and that adds more to it. There's also they did good at like the only other fake site was the memorial service, and I think it was because what monster would make that.
Yeah.
And well, it's not. I guess I see why an online memorial service like a streaming memorial would exist. It's more like why would you send that to the father of a missing? What fucked up like monster would do that? But then you needed that because it's how we see the fucking the shot
the
you
fucking
described.
Amazing scene.
Yeah, Jesus.
And you also see when the detective shows him the traffic cam footage of his daughter taking the exit ramp going out of town.
Right.
You see the fucking other car following her.
Yeah, and it just
clicks. Doesn't click.
That's okay. So that was the other thing. Is like every mystery movie, when you have there's always a scene where the killer confesses and says their motive. Like those, like in like even like, you know, like in like Clue, like even cheesy murder mysteries, and it has that moment where she's confessing, and they do a montage showing of her computer, his son's computer, showing back the stuff you've seen, but like you see the stuff, like the car, they point out the car. Then that's like such a classic mystery scene done this way. It's so different.
Yeah.
Like they show her like photoshopping the fake ID and stuff like that. Oh man.
Her son like debating over whether to be introduced himself.
Yeah.
And then he decides against it.
Yeah.
When he's on the streaming
that
thing.
wiener kid who's just like obsessed with a girl but can also like I think it gets some money off of this.
They make it seem like that's not necessarily what he intended.
He didn't it seemed like he was like legitimately like just like obsessed with her a little at the beginning.
Yeah, and
then he just like used do you think it's that she volunteered the money?
Well,
right, she says he goes to return it, right?
Yeah, when the detective's giving her confession, she says she found his Venmo account.
Right,
because it was just like the same as his username.
Oh, that's great.
So she just sent him the money.
And that's why he had to come clean, because he was, morally speaking, he couldn't accept that.
That's a lot of money.
Because he liked her, and he was like, fuck.
But he's also, like, they never say exactly what his problem is, but I think he's, like, autistic.
I think so. I think it was hard to tell if the mother was just, like projecting that, or like, because
the two times we see him, he seems like really off.
Does he? Okay.
Well, not really off, but he seems like unusually like timid and childlike for a person his age.
They definitely did. Yeah, I guess they did a good job with making him. The fact that what you just pointed out, that he didn't ask for the money, makes him like a sympathetic character. Like, it's good that it's sort of good. Like, she goes to jail basically at the end and confesses everything. This, again, they give her a good reason to confess. She does it so her son doesn't fucking go to jail.
She is pleading out so that
the story from her son is it sounds like a legit accident where like
but what she did.
Yes, but she did was it's clear that she shot that guy.
She murdered a guy. She left a girl in a canyon for days, knowing she was there.
But his story is just like he jumped in her car, which would understandably make her fight back.
Yeah,
and then if he doesn't quite understand the situation, and like she like tried to fight back and ran through the woods, and then he pushed her and didn't know there was a cliff right there.
Yeah.
That's solid.
And you see him get arrested, and he's like red-faced, weeping.
Yeah.
So I think, and she says at the beginning.
So it is like she's a bad person who's basically dragged her son into this.
Yeah.
Like because the phone call is him saying, "I need to call the police."
Yeah, and
she
she's
tells
like, "Don't
him
call
not
anybody
to.
else." And at the beginning of her confession, she does say, like, the thing you have to my son's not like other people. He can't,
oh, you're right.
He can't deal with things the way that other people can. So
right.
They never come out and say it, but I think he's supposed to be autistic or something like that.
Right.
So it's like it's just even worse for her that she's doing this.
Deborah Messing being a fucking ghoul.
Yeah, she's real good.
She is real good in this. Because she also, you can tell she feels, again, I feel like if you rewatching it,
Yeah, I think
like
she does feel bad. And
she feels bad. Yeah.
and that scene where like the scene where she starts to cry when she's talking to him.
Right.
You know, at the first pass through, it doesn't seem weird, but it's like, oh, I guess she really is really invested in
Right.
this. But like going back and watching it a second time, I bet there's like a whole other level to that. Where
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, she's crying because she feels guilty. Like she fucking knows.
Because her fucking motive is, her motivation is like, I want this guy to think that his daughter ran away.
Right, so
because
my son
that's
doesn't
the-
go to jail.
Yeah, but that's also like the nicest thing to try to convince this guy of. And it's the easiest thing, obviously.
Right.
And then the moment, and like that idea that, he realizes that she's driving to the lake that night. And like that was one of those things where like when they had her car going to that certain time and then realizing there was a lake, I thought like, man, he had to figure that out. The cops didn't like think about where she could have gone. Like that road just goes straight to a lake, and of course she knew, but
Yeah.
like it's that where she was just hoping he wouldn't figure that one out.
Right, yeah.
And then that was it. Oh shit.
What?
That
What?
was the
What?
other scene where I was
You see, you guys are listening to us
Fuck.
like fucking have more oh shit moments about this movie.
That was the other scene where it felt weird to me, and now it makes sense. Is that when he Skypes her from the lake, because it's a great moment where he goes to shut down his computer and he's about to click shut down, and he notices a picture of a lake on his daughter's videos.
Yeah.
And he clicks on that and he realizes like, oh, she goes to this lake a lot, and he Google Maps it and realizes her last known location
Is 5 minutes
is
away.
5 minutes away from this
Yeah.
lake. And then he drives there and he Skypes, and I didn't know what he looked like. He was looking at something, and he says to the detective, like, you said she ran away. You said she ran away. And her reaction, and I don't remember the exact words, but she acted like she had been caught. Like
Yeah,
she
'cause
was
she's,
like
frantically putting her
she's
clothes
like, I'm
on.
going there. Did you go to the lake? You went to the lake. Like she's like freaking out. And I thought that he like at that point, I thought there was like some insane story we were gonna learn, because I thought he like saw the dead body
Or the car.
or the car. I don't know why I thought he was looking at his dead daughter or something, and it seemed like she had already known and didn't want to tell him. Like I thought at first, like, oh, did the cops like find some evidence and just
just
keep
not
it from
tell
him?
him? Yeah.
Like it felt like she was like found out, and then
of course, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and that makes sense. Like that, I want to go back and watch her performance there, because I think that's the idea. Is she thought she was fucking found out too.
Yeah.
Because of the way he's saying it. He's
Yeah.
like, you said she went missing. Like, oh, man.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh man, this movie. Good ass movie.
Yeah, I want to see it again.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's one of those movies that you like. You want to like watch over again, like,
Yeah.
almost immediately, because you're like, oh, now I want to see the movie now that I know everything.
Yeah, and murder mysteries are one of my favorite genres, I think. They're the treasure hunting where it's like,
When
it's
they're-
kind of a junk food genre.
Well, when they're done,
But when
well.
they're done well,
Yeah.
they're so good.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of the same principle. We're giving you all this information for a treasure hunting or a murder mystery, and then you get to watch people solve puzzles.
Right, and it's we talked about this a little bit in the Ready Player One thing.
Yeah.
But like the main thing is it has to be fair. Like it has to give you all the things.
Yeah. It has to give you all the
Like
information.
if you don't have a chance of figuring it out, then it
Yeah.
feels like a cheat.
It has to give you most of the information. There's certain
Right.
things, like even in this movie, where you don't really know.
Right.
And you can't really know. But like it has to, it's that thing of when it all, like, they have to give you enough pieces that when they fill in the rest, you're like, oh shit.
Right, it feels fair.
Yeah. And they do that. in
Like
this.
that was earned.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Fucking computers and missing kids
Yeah.
and shit.
And shit.
And shit.
I don't think there's shit in this.
No, not at all.
There's no
Like the
poops.
only thing I could say, one was the coincidence factor of just
Right.
the memorial services stock photo happens to be the same woman. And some of the kids' performances are a little
Yeah.
shaky, but I mean they're kids. What do you
Yeah.
want, what do you
yeah.
want
Yeah.
from them?
That was okay.
Yeah.
God, I can't wait for people to keep making stuff from this genre.
Yeah, I really want to
yeah.
see what else you can do with this.
That was the other, I commented to you when we were watching it. They credit not a director of photography, but a director of digital photography, I believe is what they said, or virtual photography. That's kind of neat. I don't think they needed to do that. Like it's neat because it's like it's them thinking like, oh, this isn't like, I'm sure it was because when they hired a DP, they're like, I don't really have to do anything.
Right, there's not much to light because it's
Actually,
all
hold on. I sort of take that back.
Okay.
Because that was the one immediate difference between this and Unfriended, is this movie realized you don't have to just stay on the static screen. There's pans and zooms.
Yeah.
And it is emotional. Like they're emotional decisions,
right? And
of like
yes.
when something's happening,
yes, you're right.
The camera will slowly pan, or the camera will slowly zoom, and it'll reveal something or reveal something about a character. So there is fucking work that had to be done from the DP in this movie.
It's used several times to create tension.
Yeah. There's little things. There's a lot of like mirroring, like when I think it begins. It's just a white screen and the blinking cursor thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it starts typing, and they end that way. Or or when she goes missing and they show that she called him during the night, they start on a screensaver.
Yeah.
And they keep on it for a while if it's just like twirling and the music's kind of creepy, and then the call comes in, and then the call comes in again, and then it goes to video.
Yeah, then it goes to
and
FaceTime.
that's when you can see his camera and see that he's sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's all visual.
Yep.
And that's really well done, and it was really effective. Like it was creepy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the DP should be fucking proud. I know it's probably less. Probably seems like less of a creative job to be a DP on a movie that takes place entirely on a computer.
Yeah.
But they did stuff with it. They were very creative.
Yes.
They're like just where the windows were, like which windows were up front and like behind the others mattered and stuff like that. Like there were, yeah.
And then like you said, pans and zooms, the decisions that they would make to like, well, how do we show this? How do we show XYZ? Like it shows the GPS app when he's driving to the lake.
Yeah, that was great.
And then the call comes in, so it is still like on the phone.
That was,
it's fucking good.
That was the moment where I was like, when he realizes the lake and he leaves, I was like, oh no, are they going to just make it a movie now? How are they going to do this? And they show him on the GPS, and it's like, that is a screen. That's a fucking screen that would be on during this moment.
Yep.
And then and then they show the call. And then when they cut to that shot of the lake, I was like, "Oh God!" They cut to like an aerial shot of the lake, and it looks like a film. And I thought, like, "Oh, are they giving up on this?" And then it pulls out, and it was like, "Oh, it's a news story being watched on YouTube."
Yeah.
And that's how they did like that whole search area, or that search sequence. That felt like the trickiest for them.
Probably, but they pull it off.
Yeah, and then the funeral they had to like invent a web page to exist to do that, but it worked.
Yeah. And it didn't feel
forced.
Right, because you said earlier in the podcast, like I understand why you would have a memorial streaming service because not every, sometimes not everyone can get together for a funeral.
I didn't immediately accept the idea that he would use them after they sent him that email.
Right.
But I could see him sort of coming around to it. Like that was a little weird, but it wasn't so weird that it like ruined anything.
Well, it was part of his not wanting to deal with it.
That's true.
Like he opens up the file full of Margot's everything, like her whole life basically. He watches the first video and then drags and drops it.
Right.
Watches the second video, which is the "You're the greatest dad ever," deletes it, and then just selects all and dumps them in there.
Yeah,
so
you're
he's
right.
Like, I'm not going to think about
You're
this.
right, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
that's okay. I guess it's true that this format will hopefully force people to write better, but it doesn't have to, I guess. Because I'm thinking about what you just said. Like, that's great. And it's like a character thing, and it links in the thing. But they could have just as easily been like, there's a memorial. Like, he could have just gotten like, he could have just decided to do it. I don't know. I'm thinking of like how found footage is. There's those moments where you're like, why are you still holding the camera?
Yeah.
there could easily be versions of this where it's like, why are you still on the computer, or why are you randomly Skyping this person from? I don't know. They did a good job with this, but it does seem like there's probably ways to. I guess Unfriended is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's parts in Unfriended where it's like, "Hi, I'm Skyping you from this location."
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you doing that?
Why are you doing
Yeah.
that? Yeah, I think that was. I feel like that was earned.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was just
yeah.
him being like, he's like fucking blasted at that point. It's
That's-
just like, my daughter's dead.
Yeah.
He's just like, I don't want to think about planning the funeral. I'll use that place that fucking spammed me earlier just because I know it immediately and it's there.
Yeah, I do think it was earned. I think they did a good job at like the things that could have been real sweaty. Like they had multiple reasons for it to be there.
Yeah.
And so you never think about it. The structure is really good in this movie.
Yeah, it's, man, this is like intricately planned out.
Yeah.
Like you would have had to sit there and like really plan. I was like, okay, they really plot this thing out in order to get everything to connect as well as it does in this movie.
And it does.
It does.
And I was really upset that there was only like 3 people in the theater.
Yeah,
I think it's
2:00 on a Friday, but
Oh, that is a valid point. you
Yeah.
just raised. I hope this does good because I Unfriended was good, but I think this genre, I'm now going to call it a genre
sure.
because there's like 3 of them.
Yeah,
I
I think there's even 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, I think it looks immediately suspicious of a genre. Like when I first saw Unfriended trailer, I was like, that looks like trash. Like it just looks like a trashy genre. Like I don't know how else to. It looks like it's going to be like found footage. Like it looks like it's just going to be a real cheap way. Like it feels like people are going to look at it and be like, wow, I didn't think they could get any lower than found footage, but now they're just doing this. But it's actually a higher art form than found
I think
footage.
it's a higher art form than found footage. Yeah, definitely.
It's like it's like a writing challenge. It's like
is.
yeah.
It's like it's a visual book. That's like the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, that really is the best way.
When it's done this well.
And so they have to take away the things that make blockbusters like huge now, which is like the visuals. Like you know, I mean, I'm sure they could do some neat visuals with this format, but for the most part, there's not much need for like CGI or like.
No.
I mean, CGI like characters and stuff. I mean, the whole thing is technically probably computer generated,
Right. Yeah.
But there's no need for like action sequences. You can't really have them.
No.
I feel like it would be very easy for them to like cross this over with found footage and just have it's a lot of people talking on their phones, FaceTime, and that could turn into like it's just kind of found footage again. So like I hope they keep the idea of like you're sitting on a computer.
That's what Unfriended was to a degree.
The sequel was.
Yeah. That's right. The first one is just from the one character.
Yeah, the first one is just this person's
The first
screen.
one is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
because again, they accepted the challenge.
Yeah.
Which was it's a computer screen. This movie goes away from that. There's a few phone parts, like we pointed out, but they didn't rely heavily on them. Like they tried to avoid it.
right, and we switched. There's 2 computers too.
Yeah.
There's the mom's computer, and then there's the
and there's the
there's
kid's
3
computer.
computers.
Yeah. And then
There's
there's
3
like
computers.
the other characters when they do the confession, which was fine because like I didn't need it to stay on one screen. Like I just needed it to continue that theme throughout, you know?
Yeah.
And it did. Yeah, and they just briefly went to cell phones, but then they like brought it back as quickly as they could.
And it
which
works
I
well with
appreciated.
Apple because they integrate.
Yeah.
Like your iPhone just
Yeah.
goes up on your
Yeah. I think Windows needs to start figuring how to make their operating system more like narratively like
Well, I think they do. Yeah, there's more of a narrative device.
more of a
effective
narrative device. Yeah.
Yeah, like
'cause-
every now and then, when I'm working on my computer, I'll get I'll get a text message on my
yeah.
iPhone, then a little ding will come up on my computer, which is a Windows
Yeah.
PC, and it'll be like, "You just got a message. You want to see him here?" So I guess there's a way to do it.
They're trying.
They're
Yeah,
trying.
when this opened on Windows, I was like, oh, I see. Unfriended is going to be
how
the
cute.
Apple
Yeah.
movie, and this is going to be the Windows. And then, again, that was part of the like family computer evolution. It becomes a Mac.
Yeah, and it's also like, like 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So it opens on a Windows computer. It's Windows 2000.
Yeah.
So
Oh, man.
yeah.
I don't
yeah.
think... Did you were slightly late. You didn't see the very beginning.
No, I came in at like
You
first
basically...
birthday.
Yeah, you basically came in like at like the third shot. Or
Cool.
third. But like I should say the beginning sequence, it reminded me of like a Gravity they did kind of opening where it's that music that just gets more and more intense and it's darkness and then it just stops and it's the rolling hills. And like it takes a second to realize what you're looking at and then
Yeah.
you see the cursor. It was a good opening. It was a
Solid.
yeah. It was like the music really helped make this fucking intense.
Oh yeah.
Because they did realize one thing, and I don't remember if Unfriended did this or not. They knew that like they didn't have to be they didn't have to make us believe we were watching a computer screen. Like they could
Right.
add music
Yeah.
and they could do zooms and they could pan and they could
Yeah.
switch computer screens. Like they knew that much, which was good. They just knew the world had to be digital. It had to
Yeah.
exist. Yeah.
So we had an
Fucking-
actual score that was not
that was effective.
non-diegetic. Is that right? Oh
I
no,
don't know.
that was diegetic.
Okay.
One of those means that the characters can hear it. One of them means that the characters can't hear it.
I didn't know that word. That's a great word.
But when we get music in like the Unfriended movies, it always has to be like the character's Spotify
Right.
playlist.
And he does this
and
that
there's
little
a
bit
couple
in
of
that,
times in this, but there is an actual score in this movie.
yeah. It was fucking talent. I should probably look up who made this when we're done.
Yeah. We should do that. And
Yeah.
everybody should fucking watch this
See it.
GD movie.
Yeah.
We warned you several times, so if you've listened this far
It's on you.
without stopping and watching the film, that we are not to blame.
Yeah.
No fault.
Shame on
No
you.
fault here. Yeah. How dare you?
Mm-hmm.
Look at what you've done.
Look at this. Look around.
Yeah, look around you.
Are you happy?
Is this what you wanted? Is this where you wanted to be? Not seeing this film? Yeah, go see this film.
You disgust me.
Go see Searching.